Hey guys, Bryan here with Better Chess Training. It's a rainy day here where I live, and playing a 15-minute game on the Internet Chess Club. And what I'm going to try to do is uh, discuss this game in a way that beginners and newer players can understand, as well as help me to get back to basics with regard um, to chess here. I've been struggling a little bit with my performance, and I think part of it is um, I haven't been able to train as much lately, and and it does have an effect on things. But let's see what we can do here. And we're kind of into a Kali system, but this can transpose into a few other things, so hard to delineate. Okay, Blue and Black's main moves here is c5, attacking my center, also threatening c4. However, after I play c3, it's not a big deal. So this is a common move that's made, and it's not really a great move. The issue here is that now there's no tension here on d4, and what White wants to do is play e4, and one thing that prevents the timing of that sometimes is this pressure on d4. So because he alleviates that, I'm now able to um, play e4 without much trouble after I get my king to safety. What that will do is kind of free up my game a little bit, and in this particular case, it might also wreak a little havoc on his pawn structure. Here, I could actually play e4 because of his bishop placement, so that's an idea too. Let me see if I should do that now. Actually, I'm going to castle first, real quick. Get my king to safety first because I want to have this file here. Oh, he plays b5. He's trying to capitalize on this space right here. It's not really that big of a deal, and I'm going to go ahead and play e4. I am threatening to fork his bishop and knight, but what most likely will happen will there'll be a couple exchanges here. Here I'm threatening his bishop. Okay, he takes back there. That's fine. And um, what I'm going to do is take this opportunity to play my queen here. That way I can put my rook over here. Okay. And let's see. Do I want to develop my knight first? Or yeah, put my knight on e5 or play rook to d1?
Friend departed.
Rook to d1 looks good. And then I'm going to develop this bishop next. See, the nice thing, sometimes there's some struggle in developing this bishop in this opening because of these pawns in the middle, but because of my opponent, these exchanges I was able to do, now my bishop can get out. Okay, he's still working on this plan of expanding on the queen side, and his idea will be to play b5 at some point, but what that does is it makes this pawn a little weaker as well, so he can't really do much with that right away. Sometimes the space advantage is good. In this particular case, I don't think it's a big deal. I do not want to take this knight here because it helps him to develop this knight when it takes back. What I will do, well, let's see. I want to develop this bishop, but choosing where to develop it is important. Um, I think I want to see how Black clarifies his position here. I'm putting my knight here. My idea is to play f4 next, and then that way, if he takes on e5, I can take back with the f pawn. Okay, castle's away right there. Um, let's see here. I can go ahead and play f4. So this seems to block my bishop a little bit, but what it does is it will open this f file if he ever takes on e5. And this actually shows what a little issue I've had because this rook would rather be here. So what I probably should have done was put my um, played that knight to e5 earlier and then get this f4 in. So there's a lot of tension here, so I always have to be careful of the exchanges and what I'm going to do. You know, if his bishop takes, what will I do? Which is probably take with the bishop. If his knight takes, I'll take with the bishop. So when you're playing, you want to check whenever your pieces are in contact with your opponent's pieces, you want to check to see what the results of any exchanges would be. Okay, both on your side and on their side. If they take your piece, what are you going to do? And then if you take their piece, what are they going to do? And that will help you stay out of a lot of trouble in the opening. Okay, knight to d5, which not quite sure the idea behind that, but not a horrible move by any means. Um, what it does allow, if I could, I might want to try something like um, queen to h5 at some point, attacking this pawn, but it's not something for the immediate future. Um, what it does do is maybe make me think a little bit about developing here. So what he's thinking, I think, is to play his pawn here, which would weaken this e pawn. So um, it's not really a great idea at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the time and move my rook back here. And now from this position, there's a bunch of ideas of moving my rook to f3 and then over to h3 to attack this h7 square. So even though this knight looks pretty good here, it's blocking in his bishop as well. So in chess, there's a lot of give and take, and you have to understand there's only 64 squares on the board. So when one of your pieces takes up a square, is it taking away squares from your other pieces? Um, okay, well this is interesting. So he plays f5. So if I were looking at this position now, we have a few issues in that his um, his pawn on e6 is weak. He is driving my knight away from this position, but I don't think it's a really a big deal. The key here, though, is that that he's going to have some issues here in the long term. So it's something that we want to consider. What he does do, though, is he does block my bishop here, but that's okay also. Okay, let's see here. If I take his knight first, he takes with his queen, and then I could play my knight over here or over here. So the question is which one would be better. If we play it over here and he takes this pawn, he'll take this pawn here. Kind of like, I can always retreat this knight also. See, because the other plan eventually will just be to play g4 to free up, to open this up again at the right moment. Okay, now let me see if I can make a decision here. Just want to make sure there's nothing else that's extraordinary that I can do right off the bat. Let's see here. Well, one thing we could do is I can go ahead and take this knight first. And then he has to take back with the queen. And then I could decide whether or not I want to threaten here. My initial thought here is to drop back and then move this knight into that spot. So I think I'm going to do that. So I do have some problems with my position, particularly that this bishop is not developed or this rook. So I want to think about that in my plans, but I have to look at the immediate needs of the position right now. Okay, and so here he's attacking this piece twice, and that's one of the issues here with my pawn move. I can just play g3 to protect it. In fact, I might have to do that here. Of course, that opens up this diagonal for this bishop. But hopefully if I can get my knight to e5, that'll help mitigate any issues I have with that.
Server announcement.
So he has a definite weakness in his position in
Server
e6. He's never going to be able to
announcement.
advance this pawn without losing it. And what I want to do is try to put some pressure on it eventually, but I don't have to be in a hurry to do that. Okay. Not quite sure why he did that. I mean, there's no real potential for sacrificing, I don't think. No real good potential. And actually, he has an issue
Friend
here
departed.
with this check. Just want to make sure it's not a trap. I put him in check. He can block with the queen, in which case I would exchange, or he can move the king. But the other thing about this is I don't need to win this pawn right away. It's always going to be a weakness. So I can actually just take the time to put my knight in this position here. I don't have to rush. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. This is maybe a mistake. It might be something where I should have gone ahead and taken it. But I want to. One concept that I'm trying to get better at is when you have a what's called a static advantage, or there's a static weakness in your opponent's structure, then it's often good to take advantage of it. Here, wait, he's going to have sacrifice here, and I guess I didn't really calculate because I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And actually, I still don't think it's that big of a deal. But let's go ahead and take with the bishop first. Okay, and then I'm going to take here. Okay, now here is what I was thinking, and I can go ahead and check his king here first, and then the problem he has is that when he moves his king over, I guess he could block too, is I can bring my knight in. And what my knight does that is problematic for him is that um, it covers some squares where he might try to check my king. Okay. Um, let's see here. Does that work though? I guess that's the question. Or can I trap his king right away? Let's see here. Check. We do some calculations here, and we'll go over it a little bit in a little bit here. You know what? Let's leave that weakness for now. I can go ahead and play this piece here. So again, I'm kind of foregoing this because the complications of him getting some here. I want to just force his king out of the way here.
Check.
Okay, and then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scooch my king over to this side. And see, now my knight is in this nice position. He cannot take it with his bishop. And I've given up, he's given up a piece to do this. And now you can see I have this G file to attack, which is kind of nice.
Check.
Okay, and I can go ahead and scooch away this way. Now if he checks me on this diagonal, I can block with the rook, and then I can bring my other rook in. If he checks me here, I just go this way. Okay, so what he's done here is he has given up a little material, not a ton of material, a little material in order to create this attack. And so before I let him do that, which I didn't really do in this particular case, you want to check to make sure that you can escape. So here, if I play here, he doesn't really have any more safe checks. So I'm going to have a move to do my next thing. And one thing to note here is that once I get my king to safety,
Server announcement.
Okay, I have to be very careful here. Um, if I take, he takes back with the pawn, and then I cannot, this rook is pinned. So I have to be very careful about how my next moves here. Um, I don't think I want to take it. In fact, I think I just want to protect my rook. If he takes it, I'll just take back with the queen. Okay, so in this position, not quite sure why he did that. He's attacking here. The problem is that I'm perfectly safe. I can go ahead and take this, and then take it back, and now I'm up even more material. Now I'm up a piece for only one pawn. Okay, because he has an extra pawn, but I have an extra piece. So if we look at our piece values, I'm about 2 pawns up, which in a lot of cases is enough to win. I do have to be careful though. My king is out in the open a little bit, so need to watch out for any um, checks and tactics involved around that. But with all of my pieces surrounding my king, I'm pretty safe in any case, I think. I think he just made a mistake here. I mean, he is a little lower rated than me. One thing I'm learning though is not to underestimate my opponent because that's a good way to lose. Okay, let's see here. So going to the next phase here, and I need to be careful about how I do this, is how do I actually win the game now that I have a winning advantage? Okay, so um, one way to do that, I guess, would be to attack his weaknesses and continue to do that. But I have to always be careful of my king's safety. What this does is it forces him to continue to be on the defensive. Okay, I can actually take this with check. Actually, that's a good move. I'm going to take here with check.
Check.
Now he has to block. He can't. It's not a good idea to block. So when he moves over here, I could actually win the exchange here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And I'm not worried about him promoting here because my rook is on the back line. Okay, and now I can just go ahead and start. Okay, again, this is not a problem. What can I do here? I can actually take here first, and at any point I can move my rook over here. So now I'm actually threatening mate in 2 here on the back rank. So we'll see what he does.
Check.
Okay, the nice thing about this position is my king is perfectly safe. Let's double check here. If I move here, actually, no, I want to move here. Now, he might put me in check here, but my rook can cover. What I wanted to do with this move is unpin this rook, as well as not provide him a way to check me with this queen. And again, I am threatening mate in 2 right here, if he doesn't do anything about it.
Check.
Okay, he's exchanging, and that's fine.
Server.
And so now the main thing is to prevent this promotion. I am still threatening rook checkmate in 2, so he should be resigning soon. He might want to play his king over here or move his pawn up to prevent checkmate. Okay, and let's see. I think the simplest would be to just scoop up this pawn here. Now with an extra rook, I should be able to win very easily. However, especially with beginning players, it's often good to see the technique. So I will try to do that. Okay, I'm just going to grab this. And the easiest thing now, I am a whole rook up on my opponent. And so what I'm going to do here is actually trade rooks. And the easiest way to do that will be to double the rooks on this file and then pin this rook to this king. And then if he tries to avoid that, I'll just keep using my extra material to I guess to munch on his um,
check,
to munch on his pawns. Okay, so the purpose behind that was to get here, so I could take this one. Okay, and he's threatening this check here, but it's not a big deal. Okay, he's threatening this pawn. I don't really care about this pawn, but I can protect it just to make it a little more annoying for him. I don't want to necessarily give up anything for free either,
check,
so here I can go ahead and advance my king and attack his rook. So he's not going to be able to check me here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this rook here up, lined up with this king. And then I'm going to,
check,
if I get a chance, see, I just go back attacking him. So he's always going to have to give me a move because he can't check me without me taking his rook. What he should do is put his rook here to prevent, to prevent me from putting my rook there. And now I can advance one of my pawns. So let's just go ahead and advance this one. Now you might want to notice here that I'm advancing this one just to keep this one from advancing.
check,
Okay. And I'm just going to take cover behind this
server
pawn here.
announcement,
So with the rook alone, of course, he can't checkmate me. And so what I might want to do here is, do I want to check him and push him back? So, but I think it might just be better just to advance the pawn. He wants to bring his king around. Okay. I'm going to advance it one more time. And then I'm going to get behind it. So this allows, I'm going to give up this pawn, but I'm going to be
check,
coming in much faster. So I'm gaining time here, or I'm not losing time because he checks me, but I'm going to go ahead and attack him again. Okay, and now I'm going to move my rook, and I move it right here so I can protect against the check. Again, I don't mind giving that up because I'm going to get another queen momentarily. So in these types of positions, I know I'm really winning here, but it's good to see how to totally finish this game off. Again, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, and what we're trying to do here is prevent any what we call counterplay, which is
Bryan
any chances.
Carter.
We're trying to prevent any chances for our opponent to come back.
black resign,
Okay, and there's the resign. GG, good game, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Okay, just going over a few positions here. One of the things that during the game I underemphasized, but maybe I could have explored a little more if we had more time, and we could take a look at it a little here, is this pawn structure here on the queen side. And sometimes when you see this type of thing, you always want to think about attacking it. You can something like b3 or a4. And the line I looked at here was a4, and black would probably defend here with a6. The whole point here is that what we're doing, we're undermining these pawns here because this pawn can become potentially weak. the other thing too we're trying to take advantage of is this open file. And what you can see here is that if black were to, actually it's, let's go back a move. If black were to take here on a4, um, and then we take back, say with here, let's see, actually not there because of this, but we have to take care of the tactics first. After knight takes, bishop to
Check.
a4 check, and if, to avoid that, if black takes back with the bishop, queen takes c4, and we have this nice formation here, and he has a lot of weaknesses that we can attack during the game. So a4, or just in general, this concept of attacking this pawn structure, this pawn chain, is something that you should remember in your games. Okay, in this particular position, we get to the critical point in the game where, or at least a critical position for black, where black decides to sacrifice a piece on f4. And analysis shows that it's pretty unsound overall. However, black in this particular position actually isn't doing too badly. He does have this weakness on e6, but if he makes a move here, like rook a2, it's going to take me a while to get at it. In the meantime, I have my own problems with it, some development issues, as well as these bishops being fairly ineffective here. If I ever play something like knight to e5, he could just leave it there because I don't really have any targets at the moment. He could even pursue his queenside initiative here, thinking about pushing this b4 at some point. So it's not, this position's about even. I don't really have an advantage, and neither does he. Let's go look at the game, the sacrifice. There's a better way I could have played it here. And after he takes, what I could have done, this queen takes e6 check is fine. And after king to h8, instead of playing something like knight to e5, would actually get me into a lot of trouble after queen to g5 check, which is why I rejected it. All I would have to simply do, instead of, after winning this pawn, I could just drop back this queen. So I don't always have to follow through and try to do all these funny things. It's because this knight here is protecting this key square here. And then if he puts me in check here, I don't have to move the king. All I could do is move the queen back here. So because I'm up material now, and so if he were to exchange, I'd be perfectly fine. So this is the way I should have played it, but I didn't. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, the final thing I want to show you today, this actually happened in one of my other games that are on the channel, is this checkmating pattern that you should know. After this check, if for some reason, and again, it wouldn't be a good move, if the king were to move here, then we have this classic checkmating pattern here with this double check. And now he's forced to go here. And then we sacrifice our queen. And after he takes back with the rook, it's a smothered mate here with the knight to f7. So that's a pattern you should definitely know. And it's a nice, pretty mate. It's happened a lot of times in my games over my life, and it's always fun when it does happen. A lot of variations on it in terms of the formation of the pieces, but the general idea is this: the king trapping itself in that sacrifice of the queen. Okay, well, we'll stop there today, and I hope this was helpful for you and enjoyable. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please press the like button. If you're new to this channel, my goal is to help you to improve your chess. And I do that in a few ways with different types of videos. Also want to invite you to join me on my journey as I try to improve my chess. So hopefully those two goals will be in alignment with each other, and hopefully have some fun together as well. So if that's something you're looking for, think about subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you in a future video. Okay, have a great day.